In this lecture, we are going to learn some of the most useful network-related commands in Linux. As ethical hackers, we rely on these commands to test connectivity, check network connections, troubleshoot issues, and gather information on target systems.
Hi, I am Imran Afzal. I make learning technology easy, even for beginners in IT. So I have over 25 years of experience in Linux administration, Windows, virtualization, and many more. I have taught millions of students worldwide.
Let's begin with a command that is already installed in our system, and that is ping. This checks connectivity with another host. So, for example, if you run the command ping -c space 4 space the IP address where you want to connect to or check its connectivity, and in our case, let's do 192.168.100.1. Now, this sends 4 ICMP packets to the host, which is in our case is our default gateway. If you receive replies, it means the host is alive and reachable. Ethical hackers use ping as quick way to confirm whether a machine is up before scanning it. Next, we have SS, which is also installed by default in Kali. This shows open sockets and listening ports. For example, if you run the command ss space dash tuln, this lists all TCP and UDP ports that are listening. Ethical hackers use this to discover running services that might be vulnerable. You can also use wget, another tool included by default. While it's mainly used to download files, it can also be used to test HTTP connectivity. For example, wget space http :// google.com. This will try to fetch the home page from Google. And if you don't need the page, it confirms that your system has internet connectivity and can reach web browsers or web servers. Another essential command for ethical hackers is nmap, which comes pre-installed in Linux systems or Kali Linux systems specifically. Nmap is one of the most powerful tools for networking scanning and gathering information. For a simple scan for a single host, you can run the command, for example, nmap space -v option and the IP address, and in our case, we'll use our default gateway, which is 192.168.100.1. This command performs a basic scan of the target machine and shows which ports are open. All right, now let's talk about some additional commands that are not installed by default in Linux, Kali, but are very useful for ethical hackers. And let's start with netstat, the traditional tool for listing open ports and connections. It has been replaced by SS command, but many tutorials still use it. To install it, you need the net-tools package. So if you want to install, let's run the command sudo space apt apt space update. Let's first update our system. Then once it's updated, we'll run the command sudo apt install net-tools -y. Now, of course, we're using sudo assuming the user is added to the right group to have that root user level privileges. If you don't have sudo access, then you could become root. Of course, for that you will need a root password. All right, moving on to another command, which is traceroute. This shows the path packets take to reach a destination, which helps reveal network topology. Okay, so this is not installed by default. To install it, you run the command sudo apt install traceroute with -y option. All right, once it is installed, then you could run the command, for example, traceroute followed by google.com. This shows each hop or router your traffic passes through to reach Google. Ethical hackers use this to map out the network path. All right, let's talk about curl. a powerful command line tool to interact with web servers, APIs, and more. So of course, it's not installed by default. If it is not in your system, you could install it by running the command sudo apt install curl with -y option. Once it's installed, then we'll run the command curl with -i option, uppercase I, http://google.com. This retrieves only the HTTP headers of the site, which is useful for checking server type and configuration. All right, let's talk about dig. Dig, which is a part of a DNS utils package. Dig is used to perform DNS lookup, and we don't have that pre-installed in our system. So you could check it. If it's not installed, you can install it by running the command sudo apt install dnsutil with -y option. Once it's finished installing, then you could run the dig command. For example, dig space mx, uppercase mx space the destination, which is google.com. Now this command retrieves the mail server records for google.com. Ethical hackers often check MX records to identify mail infrastructure. Okay, remember one thing. To install any of these tools, you must either be logged in as root user or use sudo in front of the command, otherwise the installation will fail, as I mentioned earlier. So by combining built-in tools or commands like ping, SSS, wget, and nmap with additional tools that we covered such as netstat, traceroute, curl, and dig, you will have a strong set of utilities of network that gathers and troubleshoot in Kali Linux.
I hope you learned something useful in this video, and I will see you in the next one. But please wait. Don't forget to subscribe.